Welcome to the Painting Coach, and this week we're investigating the best way to paint your army fast while still having it look pretty decent on the tabletop. Now, in order to run this experiment, we're going to be painting 5 of the brand new Freeguild cavaliers from the new Cities of Sigmar box. I'm delighted to say, and a huge thank you to Army Painter, who sent me their massive Speedpaint 2.0 bundle. Now, there are a lot of paints in this pack, and I'm really excited to see how those brand new Speedpaint Metallics work. And that's why those Freeguild Cavaliers are the perfect models for this. Now, make sure you watch the video all the way through, because I've got details of a fantastic giveaway thanks to Army Painter. And the only way you'll know how to enter is to watch the video. So without any further ado, let's get painting. So the first thing I've done is primed all of the models in a brown colour. I then sprayed them with white bone from Colourforge, which is exactly the same as Wraithbone from Citadel, but as you'll see as I go through, I could have got away with just using that one colour. I didn't really need the brown underneath, and if anything, that's made some of the lighter parts a bit more difficult to get some coverage on. The first thing I'm doing is painting the horses. Now, you will have to forgive me, I haven't got all of the paint names down pat as they are brand new and I've never used them before. But in terms of the grey, that's Gravelord Grey, and again, the reason I'm doing the horses first is because I'm going to be doing a lot of work over them. So it's easier to get into these nooks and crannies now. The light colour I've used is Bony Matter, which is kind of a bone colour, but actually works quite nicely for some horsehair. And the other Reddy brand, which is a very nice colour, is Ruddy Fur. And these are all going on really nicely. Just keep an eye on them drying in the cracks too heavily. But other than that, I'm really liking how these are going on. They're flowing very nicely off the brush. Now, generally, my impression of the silvers is that it's a little bit dark. So for all the horse armour, I want a nice blue steel colour. So I'm going to mix 3 parts polished silver to 1 part enchanted steel, which will hopefully give me a nice lighter bluey steel colour that still maintains the properties of the speed paint. So once I've done that, I'm then going to paint all the horse armour, obviously being careful of those bits that I've already painted to make sure I don't accidentally stain any bits of the horse. And this is why I'm doing this part second, because if I had to go back in with the horse colours after this, then I'd get it all over that nice bright silver. Now, this is flowing very nicely off the brush. Really happy with how this is looking as well. We'll see how it looks once it's dried, and obviously it's going to settle across quite a large area here as well. So I'm relatively happy with how that's turned out. The next thing I'm going to do is paint the knight's armour, and I'm going to use that polished silver on its own for this. Now, this is a nice bright colour. Of course, it's gone over a nice bright undercoat as well, so it should stand out really nicely. Just going to work my way across all of the knights, painting in all of that silver armour. Now, I'm going to leave some parts black because I'm going to paint them gold. It's nice to give a little bit of an accent colour later on, just so there's not one block of bright metal. So it's taken me quite a while to get all that silver down, and I've used different variations to see what it looks like on the models. So at this point, we're still carrying on. I'm really happy with how the silver metallic applies. We'll see how it dries, and we'll see how it looks when we get the gold on next. We'll paint the gold next. Now, there are 3 golds in the set, and they do look very different to each other. So I'm going to go with Glittering Loot, which is my particular favourite. I'll show you the others in a moment as well, but I'm just going to paint this over all of the parts I want to be gold. Now, I've tried to break this up across the different knights again, so they're not identical. There's a little bit of accent colour and everything, but in terms of how this flows off the brush, once again, it flows fantastically well, very easy, and it's very difficult to go wrong with it. So I'm just going to paint this over all of those gold parts. So that Glittering Loot has dried, and it looks okay. I'm not 100% sold on the kind of definition that's gone into the recesses, but as a colour, I really like the colour that it's finished. So let's have a look at those other golds that we've got. First up, we've got Golden Armour. Now, if I was going to give this an acrylic equivalent, it's very similar to something like Retributor Armour, but it is a very dark gold. So as you can see here on the model itself, it's very dark, and I don't think you get as much highlight out of this as perhaps you would the other 2 golds in the set. And that's perhaps why I went with that Glittering Loot, because it's the brightest gold. So it's very easy to shade down a little bit if you need to, whilst keeping those highlights. The middle gold is called Hoplite Gold, and I really like this one as well. It's kind of in between the 2, but again, you don't quite get the brightness out of this one that you're going to need, because unless you do plan to go in and highlight on top of it afterwards, it is probably still a little dark for what you need, but you know, this might look better with a wash on it. Now that we've got the gold on, the model is definitely at that really ugly stage. And I'm not 100% sure how this is going to go, and is this actually going to work out with something presentable for the tabletop. So I think what we really need to do with this gold is give it a little bit of a wash with some Reikland Flesh shade. So I'm going to do that next, and then we'll see if things start to look a little bit better. So let's apply a wash of Reikland Flesh shade. Now, this is one of those times where, if you remember Speedpaint, the original set, they did have some reactivation issues. So this is a perfect way to test if Speedpaint 2.0 have those issues. As you can see, I'm applying this Reikland Flesh shade with absolutely no problem whatsoever. It's flowing very nicely into the recesses because it's the new formulation of Reikland Flesh shade, but also the shiny surface is nice and glossy, so there's not so much surface tension. So this is going to give you a very nice shade to all of that gold. And that's, again, why I went with the bright gold, because when you shade down, it looks much better than if you shaded a much darker gold. So with all those metallics done, it's really time to move on and have a look at some of the other colours that we've got in the Speedpaint 2.0 range. I'm really excited about this. If you saw my review of Speedpaint 1, which you can see a link to at the top here, I like the paints, but obviously the reactivation was an issue. Now, that's not an issue from what I can see with 2.0. So let's get into some of these colours, because some of them look really gorgeous and there's such a fantastic range. Let's see how they apply to the model. So let's jump into some of the colours. Now, I'm just going to use lots of different colours on the model from the Speedpaint range. Where I can call them out, I will call out the names. So first up, I wanted these guys to be from the Greywater Fastener City. So they're going to have lots of yellow accents. And the colour I'm going to use that is Zealot Yellow. Now, this is a nice orange yellow, which is fairly dark. And perhaps, as you can see me apply at the side of the horse, is one of the downsides of trying to do a zenithal. It does leave it a little bit too dark and a little bit speckly. Whereas if this was nice and solid, as you can see in other parts of the model, it actually looks really, really nice. So I'm just going to work this over. Make sure it doesn't settle too much in the recesses. You do have a little bit of time to work it. And that's going to give a fantastic, bright, punchy yellow. That Zealot Yellow looks absolutely lovely, and it works fantastically well across textured and non-textured surfaces. So in terms of painting the side of the horse, but also painting some of the flowing robes of the model and that flag, it does go on very, very nicely indeed. And when it's on the tabletop, it's going to look absolutely fantastic. Generally, when you're painting with a paint like this, you want to paint the brighter colours first and then go on to the darker colours. I've tried to do that, but in some areas I have missed it out a little bit. And in this stage, I'm going to paint kind of the cushioned areas as well as some of the tassels on some of the models. And the colour I'm using with that is Moody Mauve, and I really like this colour. It dries fantastically well, and it looks absolutely lovely. And this purple is going to be a fantastic contrast to the yellow that we did in the previous stage. And I really like this colour. I'm going to use this colour a lot, I think. Now, as you can imagine, there are lots of leather parts on these horses. There's a heck of a lot of straps that we need to paint. And the colour I'm going to use this is Satchel Brown. Now, very similar to that Moody Mauve, I really, really like this Satchel Brown when it dries. Now, it's very easy to put too much on, so it dries too dark. So if you do that, just wick some of it away. But I really, really like how this Satchel Brown dries. It's a fantastic, nice leather colour that if you wanted to weather, highlight up, you've got all the base that you need. And I think this is another colour I'm really, really going to enjoy using from this paint range. When it came to painting the wood on the saddles, I was a little bit spoilt for choice, and it made it really difficult to actually pick one I liked. And I went through a couple of colours on different saddles. So I went through Brownish Decay, I went through Desolate Brown, I went through Mummified Grime to see which one I liked the most. And I could have picked any other one as well, but I think my favourite one is probably that Brownish Decay for the wood, because again, it flows into those recesses really nicely and gives you a really nice, easy highlight. And I've got to be honest, I'm really enjoying using these speed paints at the moment. So I said at the start there would be a giveaway, and there certainly is, with a huge thank you to Army Painter for sending me through these items. So first off, you get the Army Painter Most Wanted brush set, some great, fantastic brushes in there. Next up, you get an Army Painter wet palette. So if you haven't got a wet palette, or even if you do and you want to try something different, then you can win one of these. And finally, and perhaps what I'm most excited to give away, is the Army Painter Speedpaint Metallics set. So you get all the brand new metallic speed paints in this box. They're all brand new, they're all unopened. And to enter, all you need to do is go to my Instagram page. The link is in the description. Find the giveaway post on my page and do two things. Firstly, make sure you follow me on Instagram. And secondly, leave a comment on that post telling me which one of my tutorial videos helped you the most. And this competition will run for 1 week until the 17th of September 2023. So if you are watching this video later, I'm sorry you've missed out, but hopefully we'll do more giveaways in the future. And if you do get in the hat, good luck. I'll announce the winners on my Instagram page by way of a raffle draw. Next up, I thought I'd show you how some of these colours sit across nice flat panels. So the first colour I'm using is Poppy Red. And again, it goes on okay. I mean, you might need to put 2 coats on, but I'm quite happy with how this is turning out. I'm deliberately putting a little bit more towards the bottom so that when it dries, it actually looks pretty good. And we can get what we need from this red. And this goes for using things like the Zealot Yellow as well. Let it settle, let it dry, and actually it looks pretty decent. The last couple of things I'm going to show you is the flesh tones. I'm going to use Crusader skin for this first head, and this goes on lovely. It looks really, really nice. Flows into those recesses, leaves you with some nice highlights, and this is a nice, easy, simple flesh colour to do. So if you're not a fan of painting faces, you cannot go wrong with this. And I second that for noble skin as well. If you want to paint a darker skin tone, fantastic. Out of the pot, paint it on. Does exactly what you need it to. And of course, with these colours, you can always go in and highlight them if you need to. So we've got most of the colours down now. So let's have a look at these models on the turntable. Now, I'm relatively happy with how everything has turned out. I think I probably need to experiment a little bit more and maybe have a little look at adding a dash of medium to some of those metallics just to help them settle a little better into recesses and over large flat panels. But for a few hours work, I can't really complain about how these models look. So what do you think about them? Have you tried the new Speedpaint? What's your favourite? Is it Contrast? Is it Army Painter? Is it Express? And whatever other plethora of Speedpaint type paints are on the market. Let me know down in the comments below. Now, I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you check out some of my other content. There's plenty of it. Over 250 full tutorials for you to browse. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to enter the giveaway. I'll see you next time.